It's once again new game season with the drop of NBA 2K23 this past Friday. So what team should you rebuild in one of the best franchise modes currently in sports gaming? Well, that's what we're here to discuss. This video will focus on the Eastern Conference, and I'll be giving my reasoning for each team, so if you disagree, let me know why in the comments section below. Let's get started with an honorable mention, the Toronto Raptors. My honorable mentions this year are going to be a little bit outside the box. The Raptors did win the finals in 2019, and now they're purely just playoff contenders without actually being title contenders year after year. They have all their original first-round picks for the next 5 seasons, so that's a good start. Plus, Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet still lead the team, but for how long? Both could be gone after 2 seasons, making way for a new era of Raptors basketball, with Scottie Barnes having the potential to be the best player on the team at that point. Who knows if guys like OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., Precious Achiuwa will be around as contributors. That'll be up to you. There's a lot of room to mold the team the way you want to, and also the pressure of keeping their playoff contending ways going. Can you keep them contending and usher in the next era in Toronto smoothly? Number 5, the Orlando Magic. The Magic seem to either be on my list or just outside of it year in and year out, and when I don't put them on it, I get a ton of questions why not. So they made it this year, but barely. They're a super young team with a lot of potential contributors, but it'll be your job as GM to find out who those guys are going to end up being. Wendell Carter Jr. is the team's best player right now, and he'll be on the books for 4 more seasons. But the only other player guaranteed to join him the whole time is the new first overall draft pick, Paolo Banchero. The top 8 players on the roster are 25 years old or younger. Half of them are under 23. It's a tough task to be able to decide who to extend, who to let walk, maybe who to trade away. And with 2 first-round picks in 2023, their own and the Bulls, it shouldn't be too tough to get another potential impact player on the roster. The Magic have 6 first-rounders over the next 5 years, and a fun young roster. Are you up to the task of finding out who has the real potential to usher Orlando into another NBA Finals? Number 4, the Indiana Pacers. Now, my pick for a team with a lot of picks in the East is Indiana. They have 6 total first-rounders over the next 5 seasons, 2 in the first offseason. The extra first is a lottery-protected pick from the Cavs, which, who knows, with their addition of Donovan Mitchell, they shouldn't really be a lottery pick anyway. The only player signed for 4 seasons potentially is 6th overall pick Benedict Mathurin out of Arizona. Tyrese Halliburton is the team's current best player. Miles Turner will be able to be a nice number 2 for at least the 2023 season. Buddy Hield is the expensive option number 3 for the next 2 years. Pacers have a lot of potential roster movement over the next 2 years, with a lot of options for year 2 and 3 that could be declined if you so choose. This gives you the ability to really reshape the Indiana roster the way you want to and get them to their first final since 2014 and end their drought as the only team in the Central Division of the Eastern Conference to never win an NBA Finals. Number 3, the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is another outside-the-box pick here, but hear me out. I know they just got Donovan Mitchell, but there is very little roster movement now for the Cavs. Mitchell's there for 3 years. He's only an 89 in game. Darius Garland for 6 years and Jared Allen for 4. Now, Kevin Love and Karis LeVert will be off the books at the end of year 1, and you would think that would loosen it up a bit, but not entirely, since the acquisition of Mitchell has the Cavs $24 million over the cap anyway, so freeing up those contracts plus a large portion of the bench means you're going to have to scour free agency smartly for the right role players for the team. I'd say draft them, but the Cavs will only have a 2nd rounder. That is a best being swapped with the Warriors, so that's not very good for them. And if the Cavs happen to be a lottery pick as discussed, they'll have that pick as well, but they will lose their 2024 first. The challenge with this rebuild to try to win the Cavs their 2nd NBA title is that their core has kind of already been decided for you. Can you get the right role players on the bench and infuse them with youth later on to keep that winning going? Number 2, the Charlotte Hornets. Now, the Hornets have a star budding into a superstar in LaMelo Ball. He is no doubt growing into one of the best point guards and players, period, in the NBA to be soon. The help? That's a bit of an issue here. Terry Rozier is locked up for too long at too expensive of a salary, as is Gordon Hayward. Also, why is Cody Martin signed for 3 years and a team option? Oof. The good news is outside of Rozier, Hayward, and Martin, the roster does have a ton of movement. Every other player except some developing young guys like 15th overall pick Mark Williams, 2021 first rounder James Bouknight, 2021 first rounder Kai Jones, 2021 second rounder JT Thor, and 2022 second rounder Bryce McGowan are off the books after year 1. So tons of freedom to work there with a lot of young guys. The bad news? The Hornets have no picks for 2023, so can you maybe work their roster to be in a position to either get some pick or potentially sign that star player to come play with LaMelo Ball in Charlotte? That'll be the challenge at hand to get the Hornets to their first ever NBA Finals and maybe win it. And without further ado, the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference to rebuild this year, the Detroit Pistons. I love the direction the Pistons have been kind of heading. They're very young with a couple of veteran role players infused into the roster. But they're allowing Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, and 5th overall pick Jaden Ivey the freedom to potentially be the future. My biggest issue, at least while 2K is concerned, is the positional listing suggesting the Pistons don't have a point guard. That's just a small gripe. I'm sure Cade will do fine. The issue is that there isn't a lot of roster movement, as only 2 players are guaranteed to come off the books after season 1, and they hold 0 picks in 2023. So you're likely playing with the same roster for 2 seasons before you can even start building it in your image. And for that reason, to me, Pistons, if you're being realistic, a rather tough rebuild, and my pick for the best challenge this season. What team did I miss in the Eastern Conference? Sure, others like the Wizards and Knicks could probably be here, but they make my list a ton. Are you rebuilding a team in the East this season? If so, who is it? Check out my old Knicks franchise here and let me know what team I should do for NBA 2K23. Thank you, channel members, for the continued support. Christian Horn and T-Click24 are only franchise quarterbacks, and the GOAT Matthew Hackett are only general manager.